Hello and welcome to Totem Mini Trooper assembly video. This is an updated version of the first iteration, and it's easier and faster to assemble it. Step 1. It is always a good idea to start with the nuts, so place the nut to the beam and then use the back of the screwdriver to push the nuts all the way in. Some of the nuts are missing threads. This is a manufacturing issue. We are working on it, but for now we just have to be aware of that. These are adjustable brackets, so for now don't tighten them, just place them on the beam and look at the instruction of how are they supposed to be placed. So for example, these brackets on the side, they both have to be pushed all the way out and then you can fasten them. The bracket in the middle should be pushed like this, all the way to this side, and then fasten it. Step 2. Make sure these two brackets are pushed all the way to their sides. And only then fasten them tightly. The bracket in the middle will be fastened by the nut that goes not into the slot of the beam, but it will go sideways into the channel. And this bracket is supposed to be adjusted to its middle oblong hole. Step 3. You can start by fastening the nylon standoffs. Please note that they are made of plastic nylon, so do not use much force when tightening them. Fingers are enough. There is also a totem wrench, but I would advise not to use it in this step. Also, please note that in this step we are using 8mm bolts, not 6 as before. You can check the length with the ruler, which is on the side of the packaging box. Brackets are supposed to be pushed all the way to the side as well. Step 4. Step 5. Use the blue Phillips screwdriver that is included into the box in this step to fasten these small bolts. Step 6. Take the assembled beam from the step 4 and combine it with the step 5. Make sure the wire of the motor goes on top of the beam. Step 7. Step 8 is exactly the same as step 5. Use the blue Phillips screwdriver that is included into the box in this step to fasten these small bolts. Step 9. This step is very similar to step 6, but it is only mirrored. The wires of the motor are supposed to go on top of the beam as well. Step 10. Now we will join all pre-assembled parts together. I would advise to use the hex key because it has better access to the bolt. Side. Step 11. Now that we assembled all parts together, we have to make sure they align nicely. So to do that, we have to loosen all these 6 bolts. And we have to adjust it so that this beam is aligned nicely with all these 3 beams at the bottom. And once you do, tighten bolts back. Step 12. Step 13. Make sure these beams are aligned nicely as it is shown in the instructions, and the top of this edge of the beam has to match the bottom part of the beam here. To do so, just loosen all these 4 bolts, adjust the beams by hands, and when you're happy with the result, just fasten the bolts back. Make sure this bracket is pushed all the way out, and then fasten it.
Pleasure.
Step 14. The adjustment should be done in the same way as it was in step 13. Once you do it, fasten it with bolts. This bracket right here should be pushed out as well. Step 15. Step 16. You may also use the hex key for better access in this step. Step 17. These two brackets on the side are supposed to be pulled out all the way and only then tightened. And these two brackets in the middle are supposed to be pushed all the way towards the beam and only then fastened. Step 18. Step 19. Step 20. After tightening the zip tie, you can just cut it with a scissors the end of the zip tie. Step 21. Step 22. You can use totem wrench in this step to hold the lock nut. If you have it at home, you can also use a pointy pliers to hold the lock nuts. Do not fasten all the lock nut all the way in. It's supposed to the bolt is supposed to be loose, like that, and the flipper is still loose. Make sure the flipper can move very freely. Step 23. Step 24. Step 25. Step 26. Count the 6th floor from the edge of the board and push the bolt in. Place the bracket on top. Make sure it is pushed all the way to the side of the board. Make sure it's straight, and for fastening you can use the totem wrench to hold the nut. Step 27. Step 28. Make sure both of these brackets are pushed all the way, and the end of the bracket hit the nut here, and only then tighten it. Same on the other bracket. Step 29. Tighten the lock nut just enough to get a smooth hinge rotation. The bolt is supposed to be loose. And the same thing on the other side. Step 30. Tighten this lock nut just enough to get a smooth hinge rotation. The bolt is supposed to be loose, but not to wobble too much. And the same thing. The same thing here, connecting to the servo arm. Step 31. Step 32. Make sure when you close the lid, this printed part touches this beam. It has to be nice and flat. If that is not the case, you can adjust it by loosening this bracket. So move it up and down and fasten it back, and then check it again. It should be touching. Step 33. Make sure also that the flipper is almost in the middle. You can judge it by these gaps here. So now you can see the flipper is closer to this side than to this side. So we have to adjust it. To do that, we have to loosen these two bolts here. After loosening these two bolts, close the lid again. Make sure the flipper is straight. Open it again and tighten these two bolts. And double check if everything is okay. Should be good. Now it's time to connect all electronics. First open the lid and loosen just a little bit these two bolts holding the board. Push these two leads through the gap. And after that, you can just tighten the bolts back. So the lead from the wire on this side is supposed to go into the third connector from this side. So 1, 2, 3, it goes here. And the lead from this motor is supposed to be connected into the fourth connector. Now you can loosen the lead of the servo motor. And just push it through here and connect it to the first connector on this side. So the lead from this motor is supposed to be connected to here, and the lead from this motor is supposed to be connected to here, and servo motor goes into this connector. Now it's time to do cable management. It's not very important how to do it. The important thing is to keep this area clean because of the servo arm moving up and down. So one of the ways to do it is to pull wires from the bottom, place it into the beam here, use zip ties to keep them in place, and then cut the end of the zip tie. Same thing goes for the servo wire. It doesn't matter how it goes as well. The only important thing is that it's not too loose, and there is no way how to damage it. In this case, I will just I will attach it to the upper beam. So now you can see this area nice and clean, and shouldn't be any problems.